HOA cop threatened Grandpa, so he calmly sat down and pulled out the gun. I found Grandpa sitting on the front porch, totally relaxed, like the calm before sunrise. Meanwhile, a fake HOA officer was kneeling in the dirt right in front of him, shaking, struggling to breathe, and begging my granddad not to shoot. "That's what happens," Grandpa said softly, "when a fool forgets whose land he's standing on. But before we get to that moment, let's back up. Before we dive in, let me know what country you're watching from in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. The trouble began a week earlier. Our ranch is right on the border of Willowbend Estates, a neighborhood governed by an HOA. The HOA was run by a woman named Karen Widow. She honestly believed she ruled the entire county just because she owned a clipboard and 3 identical beige sweaters. Grandpa had lived on this land for 52 years. Karen had been there for 14 months. You can guess who thought they had more authority. She had been complaining for months. "Your goats are visible from the hiking trail. Your barn roof is the wrong shade of red. Your tractor is too loud during HOA quiet hours." Grandpa always gave her the same answer. "Ma'am, I am not part of your HOA, and this is not your land." But Karen wouldn't take no for an answer, so she escalated her harassment. She hired a compliance officer, a fake one. His name was Trevor Holt, a 27-year-old with a tactical vest from Amazon, a dollar store badge, and the kind of arrogance only found in men who have never been punched. He showed up the first afternoon, stomping across our property like he was about to raid the place. Grandpa was feeding the goats when Trevor pushed open our gate without knocking. "Sir," Trevor barked, "you are in violation of HOA Livestock Visibility Code 14B. You need to remove these animals or face penalties." Grandpa didn't even look his way. "This ranch isn't in your jurisdiction," he said calmly. Trevor stepped closer, his hand resting on his baton as if he'd watched too many police dramas. "You don't get to decide that. Your animals are disturbing the aesthetic value of the community." Grandpa turned slowly and wiped his hands on his jeans. "Son," he said gently, "if you want to keep breathing properly, you better step off my land." Trevor smirked because idiots never understand a warning. "You refuse to comply," he said. "I will escalate enforcement." Then he left, but his grin said he'd be back. The next morning, Grandpa was on the porch drinking his coffee when Trevor returned. This time, he marched up the path with even more attitude and a printed violation packet in his hand. He didn't knock or ask permission. He just stormed onto the porch like he owned it. "Sir," he snapped, "this is your final warning." He made a move toward his baton. That's when Grandpa leaned back, reached beside his chair, and pulled out his pistol. He aimed the gun directly at him. Trevor froze. All the color drained from his face, and his voice cracked like cheap pottery. "Sir, please don't. Don't use that." Grandpa tilted his head. "Then get off my land." But Trevor didn't move fast enough, and that's how we got to the moment I walked out. Trevor on his knees in the dirt, wheezing and begging, and Grandpa as calm as sunrise. When I stepped onto the porch, the whole world narrowed into that one chilling picture. Grandpa sitting in his old rocking chair, peaceful as could be, and the fake HOA cop, Trevor Holt, kneeling in the dirt, breathing hard, shaking, his eyes wide with panic. Grandpa's pistol sat steady in his right hand, aimed straight at Trevor's chest. "Please," Trevor begged, his voice cracking. "I wasn't really going to hurt you. Just put the gun down and we can talk." Grandpa didn't flinch. "You walked onto my land," he said quietly. "Called yourself an officer, threatened to seize my barn, and told an old man to comply or face consequences. Now you want mercy?" Trevor sobbed, almost bowing in the dirt. "I screwed up, okay? I'll leave. I swear I'll leave." Grandpa tilted his head. A man makes a mistake? Fine, that happens. But a man threatens me on my own porch? That's a different kind of lesson. He shifted the pistol just an inch. Trevor's breathing got faster, too fast. I saw it before he moved, the flicker in his eyes, the desperate calculation, the stupid decision forming. Don't, Grandpa warned softly. But idiots listen to fear, not wisdom. With a sudden rush of adrenaline, Trevor lunged forward, one hand shooting toward the pistol grip. He thought Grandpa was slow, old, and an easy target. He had no idea the hands holding that pistol had been holding one for 50 years. The moment Trevor's fingers brushed the barrel, bang! The gunshot shattered the quiet morning. Birds scattered from the trees, and dust jumped off the ground. Trevor collapsed sideways, screaming and clutching his upper arm, where blood was already staining his sleeve. He rolled in the dirt, kicking and gasping, the shock hitting him harder than the bullet. Grandpa didn't stand, didn't yell, didn't move. He simply recentered the pistol on his lap and said, "I warned you, boy." Trevor cried out, his face twisted in agony. "You shot me! I wasn't going to hurt you, I just—" "You tried to take a gun from the man holding it," Grandpa said. "That's suicide in every state worth living in." Trevor tried to push himself up, but his arm buckled. He let out a sharp cry and collapsed again. "You're lucky it was your arm," Grandpa added. "I could have aimed higher." That's when I pulled out my phone. I had been frozen until that moment, somewhere between shock, anger, and pride. But seeing Trevor rolling in the dirt, bleeding, still trying to scramble away with one good arm, snapped me into action. I stepped off the porch, keeping a safe distance from him in case he got another bright idea, and dialed the sheriff. "Sheriff's office," the dispatcher answered. "This is Daniel Carter," I said, my voice steady but tight. "I need deputies at my granddad's farm. We've got a trespasser who's injured. He was armed earlier, impersonating an HOA officer. He tried to grab my grandfather's gun, and my grandfather fired in self-defense." The dispatcher didn't even sound surprised. This county had seen its share of HOA nonsense. "Is the suspect still on the scene?" she asked. "He's not going anywhere," I said, glancing at Trevor, who was curled up in the dust, whimpering like a kicked dog. Grandpa didn't take his eyes off him. "Make sure they send Mac," he murmured. "That boy at least knows paperwork from fertilizer." "Already on his way," the dispatcher replied. I hung up and looked at Trevor. He had stopped screaming and was breathing in short, wet gasps, not just from the bullet, but from sheer panic. Sweat rolled down his forehead, and his whole body trembled. "You shot me," he whispered again, like he couldn't believe reality had finally caught up to him. "Yep," Grandpa said. "And you earned it." Trevor's lip quivered. You're going to prison for this." Grandpa raised one eyebrow. "For defending myself on my property from a fake cop trying to seize my land?" Trevor opened his mouth, then closed it. There wasn't a single lie he could grasp anymore. Minutes later, I heard the rumble of tires on gravel, the sharp crunch that always means either help or trouble out here. Two sheriff cruisers slid into the driveway, dust swirling around them like fog. When Sheriff Mac Mullen stepped out, his hat tilted, his jaw tight, and his eyes already tired, I knew exactly how this was going to go. He took one look at Trevor, bleeding in the dirt, and slowly shook his head. "Well," Mac said, walking over, "looks like somebody finally picked a fight with the wrong grandpa." Grandpa just leaned back in his chair, pistol resting on his knee, as calm as ever. "Told him not to grab it," he said. Mac sighed. "Heard that story 1,000 times. It only ends one way." If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, please like and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. Sheriff Mac walked past Trevor and knelt beside him just long enough to inspect the wound on his upper arm. Clean pass, he said with a slow nod. Lucky man. Trevor whimpered. He shot me. He's insane. Mac raised a hand. Son, I've known Earl Carter. He pointed at Grandpa. Longer than you've known how to spell clipboard. He doesn't shoot unless someone does something monumentally stupid. Trevor tried to argue, but the pain hit him again, and he doubled over with a groan. Deputies cuffed his good wrist, carefully rolled him onto a stretcher, and loaded him into the ambulance. The red lights flashed across the porch as they closed the doors. As the sirens faded, Mac looked at Grandpa. You doing all right, Earl? Grandpa shrugged. He grabbed the gun. I warned him. Mac smirked. Then the boy earned every stitch he's about to get. Trevor didn't go to jail right away. He went to Mercy Hill Regional, where doctors spent nearly an hour cleaning the wound, cutting away fabric from his uniform, and explaining very slowly that a bullet through the arm was still better than one through the chest. He stayed there 4 days, 4 loud, complaining, dramatic days. But pain medicine can't fix stupidity. By the time deputies escorted him out of the hospital, arm in a sling, his charges were waiting. That same morning, Mac and 2 investigators pulled into the HOA office. Karen Witt tried to play queen of the county, chin high, arms crossed, lips pinched tight, but it didn't save her. Mac said Trevor's official badge, his fake violation slips, and the phone recordings on her desk, one by one. You hired a man to impersonate law enforcement, Mac said flatly. You sent him to threaten property seizure, and you told him to force compliance with an elderly man. Karen looked pale. But the worst part? Trevor talked. The moment he realized prison was coming, he folded like a damp newspaper. He admitted everything. The secret orders, the harassment plan, the fake training certificates, all of it. By the end of the week, Karen Witt was in handcuffs too. The courtroom had standing room only. Farmers, neighbors, even the mailman showed up just to hear the verdict. Trevor limped into the courtroom, arm bandaged, face pale, and eyes hollow. Karen walked in stiffly, her jaw trembling. The judge barely needed 10 minutes. Trevor Bolton, for impersonating an officer, trespassing with intent to intimidate, and attempting to seize a firearm from a homeowner acting in self-defense, for years in state prison. Karen Witt, for conspiracy, ordering unlawful enforcement, filing false reports, and misusing HOA authority, 8 years in state prison, $15,000 restitution, and a lifetime ban from HOA leadership anywhere in the state. The courtroom erupted. Some gasped, some clapped. Grandpa didn't react at all. He just tipped his hat. Outside, as we helped him into the truck, he looked at me and said, Son, some folks learn from books, others learn from life, and then there are fools like Trevor. They only learn when the lesson hurts. And that's how one fake HOA cop found out the hard way that you don't threaten a grandpa on his own porch. The end.